Hi, class. This is Professor Carrick here, and I'm here to give you the course introduction for what we're going to call this semester PSC 556. It's known as Directed Study in the Catalog, but what this really is a pre-capstone course. And you might wonder, why are we asking to do a pre-capstone course? Some of you may have completed a prospectus or at least a draft prospectus in a course run by, say, Dr. Lidahl or Dr. Cox or Dr. Sweeting or you know, even one of the other professors in the MPA program. And you might say, well, aren't I doing well enough? Aren't I prepared for my capstone? Well, perhaps you are, and perhaps you aren't. The way we've been doing this historically is that we've been having students select an advisor, having an advisor agree. When that advisor agrees to serve as the student's faculty advisor, they would help put together the committee. And finally, when we get together to do the capstone presentation and the final capstone paper, those people would all have to agree on whether or not the capstone met expectations. And usually we'd have a very personal thing between you and your faculty advisor where they try to help you select the appropriate method and try to work all the way through it. And what we're not trying to do is get rid of that. But what we have realized is that this program has grown. It's a lovely thing that it's grown. But we have, doubled the number in the past couple years. There are more MPA students at URI now than there have ever been. And what we're realizing is it's harder for us to just mentally keep track, when we only had maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 5 maximum students at a time for which we were serving as an advisor. It was pretty easy to just have in the back of your head where everyone was and keep everyone straight. Now that those numbers are going up and up and up, and they've doubled, it's getting much harder to keep track of. And what we're trying to make sure that happens is that nobody gets left behind, that nobody falls through the cracks. So that's mostly what this course is. Now, I'm going to give you an example of one of the ways students have fallen through the cracks, or at least what they wanted to do couldn't come to fruition the way they wanted to do it. What has happened a couple of times when a student comes into the capstone course, there's 7 weeks left to do it, and they say, I would like to do a survey, or I would like to do structured interviews with, say, state program leaders and department leaders. Now, this might be all well and good, except for to do any human subject research, one needs to be certified by the Institutional Review Board, and one needs to actually get the Institutional Review Board to review your project and agree that you can move forward with it before you can even start the interviews. That process can might take a month or two. Hopefully it's only a month. But you need to actually know everything you're going to do and ask to fill out that paperwork and submit it. And that should happen, a month before you're ready to go out and do those interviews or surveys. So that means you have to be certified before you know what to write and how to write it to do your application for the IRB, which means you really need like a 2-month head start. And if you don't know that going in and you haven't really talked to an advisor because it kind of fell through the cracks, you weren't clear on what you wanted to do, and you wanted to do something like that, they're just going to tell you no. And I've had to tell students no, right? I've had to say, nope, sorry, you cannot do those methods. Now, there's good reasons why. Whenever we're doing human subject research, even something as simple as an anonymous survey, there's potential that we could hurt people, and we want to make sure we don't hurt people as researchers and public servants, right? We want to make sure we minimize that risk. So what we're going to do in the first week is we're just going to actually get everyone IRB certified regardless of which methods you plan on using. And that's a good thing. It lasts about 3 years. It's a certification. You can pop it up on your LinkedIn. It will give you a little link to do it and confirm it at the end. It gives you options if you do decide you want to go that route. And if you decide you don't want to go that route, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to do it week 1 only because we're trying to fit it into the schedule, right? Now, what are some other ways people have fallen behind? Oh, well, they might have written a rough prospectus, but then they find out the method they chose doesn't work, or it's just way too much work, and they end up having to write a book, and they need to narrow their method down from a comprehensive analysis, policy analysis, to something more bite size, like a case study that can fit within the capstone framework. So what we're trying to do is iron out all those little difficulties here in these 7 weeks. And we're going to do that by working on writing a prospectus. Now, if you're coming in here with a draft prospectus from another course, great. Mention that in your introductory activity. We'll work on it, we'll hone it, we'll sharpen it, we'll make it better. If you're coming in here with nothing, that's okay. It's possible that you could have taken a circuitous route, depending on what semester you joined, where you haven't done that yet. And if that's the case, we're going to have you ready for something by the time you're out of here too. Regardless of what happens, the purpose of this course is to get you to have a prospectus, including milestones, so you're ready to go on day one, week one of that capstone course, so that you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I don't know what method I'm using. I don't even know if I'm writing a policy evaluation or a policy analysis, or if I'm writing a case study or a research paper. I don't know whether I can use my methods or whether I'd be violating IRB rules. You'll know all that. All of that will be out of the way. So the only thing you'll have to concentrate on is actually getting your deliverables complete, finding your data, completing your project, and getting that done in 7 weeks, which is much more doable. All right, so that's the rough introduction of this course. We're going to write a prospectus. We're going to make sure you get introduced to the various forms that these capstones can take. Like I said, they might be a policy analysis. That analysis might be a process analysis. It might be a cost-benefit analysis. All of these types of capstones are different types of papers, right? They're different forms of a capstone. And so you want to make sure your prospectus identifies the correct form. You might be writing a case study instead. You might be writing a policy proposal instead. You might be writing a research proposal instead. And all of these are okay forms for the capstone to take. But you need to know what you're doing. You need to know which form your capstone is going to take, on top of knowing your topic, right? Because that's going to dictate what kind of methods you use. It's going to dictate what kind of data you get. If you're doing a case study, you're going to have a case selection. That selection shouldn't just be going by your feelings. There should be a logical rationale for why you selected those cases and a procedure for selecting them. We'll talk about how you do that. So we'll read some background for every one of these forms and what they entail and how they're structured, so that you can get a taste of it if you don't know what form you want it to take yet. And by the end of this course, you should absolutely know what form your capstone is taking. It should be 100% clear to you. It should be 100% clear to you what you'll need to do to get from here to there. And you should have all the tools you need to engage in the methods you need to engage in to successfully complete it. So this course is only here to benefit you. This particular semester, I happen to be also teaching the capstone course. So that will be in session 2. And the nice thing about this will be I will be preparing you to get into that capstone course with me, so you'll know what I'm looking for there. I will make sure that all of you have a faculty advisor one way or the other before the end of this. I'll make sure that all of you know the form of your capstone one way or the other. You'll all have a good prospectus, which is the assignment for week 1 of the capstone course. By the end of this course, you'll have to submit milestones by week 2, and you'll already have proposed milestones by the end of this course. You'll have a chance to tweak them, but you should have them ready and raring to go. So those first 2 weeks should be relatively easy for you, and you should be able to just work on delivering a higher quality capstone product at the end, rather than rushing around trying to get a workable prospectus together in week 1 because you find out it was missing something key or incomplete, or proposing to do methods you weren't certified to do, or whatever else might happen. So that's it. That's the introduction for the course. I hope that you enjoy it. Again, it really is a kind of skills-based course, so there's not a specific topic other than the topic you want to work on, but use this time and this energy, not only to get good grades, but to, prepare yourself and prepare your prospectus, and prepare for that capstone, and get all your ducks in a row. So like I said, week 1, we're going to do IRB certification. Week 2, we'll work on introductions, and starting the prospectus. Week 3, we'll work on literature reviews. That's the longest component by page length. We're going to make sure those are solid and tight and you know how to do them and do them correctly. By week 4, we're going to start working on, more methods and forms and types of prospectuses. By week 5, we'll work on the methods that flow from the form and type of prospectus and the data that flows from those methods. By week 6, I will work on coming up with milestones for completing the rest of the prospectus. And week 7, I will just work on turning in a completed prospectus with all of those details in it, and a buttoned-up conclusion and an abstract at the front so that you all know your elevator pitch. And we'll have you ready and raring to go for 592 in session 2. So with that said, I look forward to the course. I hope you look forward to it as well. I tend to always be here, so reach out when you need to. And just, every week I'll check in with a little video to let you know what it's important and help you try to guide through this asynchronous course. Thank you.